Am I wrong for reporting my date for stalking his ex? I went on a date with a guy last week, just a first date out to drinks. And we were joking about being true crime fans and kind of paranoid people in funny little ways. And how one time I climbed on the table in an Airbnb to find what I thought was a hidden camera with a blinking red light, but ended up just being a ventilation fan. Then he told me a story about how he felt like his last girlfriend and now ex and his brother were sleeping together, even though both of them denied it. And he put a GPS tag on her car and confirmed it, but didn't tell them how he found out. I was super freaked out hearing that. My story was fairly silly, but his was downright scary. I took out my phone and quietly started recording audio, but just acted interested and asked, "So, how did you sneak the tracker off her car after you confronted them?" And then he laughed and said he didn't. He could still see it in an app. I asked if I could see it, and he showed me, like, "She's at work right now." I was like, damn, what a workaholic, 7 p.m., and changed the subject. We ended up talking about other stuff for a while, and I was looking for a way out of the conversation. I texted my mom saying I was on a date with someone who was scaring me, and I needed an excuse to leave that wouldn't make him mad. She called me right away and said that my dad was in the hospital and he was in critical condition and that she was coming to get me right away. This was BS. My mom took me straight to the police station with my audio recording to file a stalking report. The police took it really seriously and they sent a police officer to the girl's workplace, which I knew about because the guy had shown me her location and said she was at work, to warn her and to inspect her car for a tracker. Well, it got back to him ASAP because the girl told my date's brother, who she was still dating, that he was stalking her and the police found a GPS tag on her car. And the brother confronted him. He then started blowing up my phone. Luckily, he only had my dating app profile, calling me a narc, saying that he only did it because this girl was going to marry him and then went behind her back to screw his brother and he had to know, etc. I reported his profile to the app and also brought the messages back to the police station to see if I could file a protective order. It turned out I couldn't without revealing my full legal name, which I decided not to do since I have a very unique name and he only knew me by a westernized nickname based on my middle name. I also found out that he was arrested later that same night. But I'm feeling a little guilty. Like, of course it was messed up to still be stalking someone, but I guess I can also kind of see how he would want it to if his brother was sleeping with his long-term girlfriend. Am I wrong for having reported that?
Am I the asshole for not allowing my daughter's half-sister to spend Christmas with us? My ex-husband and I got divorced 7 years ago. We share custody of our 13-year-old daughter. He got married and has a 5-year-old daughter with his now wife. His daughter would spend time with my daughter regularly. They adore each other, but she doesn't come to my house and they rarely meet up there. His wife has been diagnosed with cancer and has started treatment recently. The other day he came to drop our daughter off and asked to speak to me. He talked about his wife's circumstances, then how his family won't be able to have a Christmas celebration this year. He said it wasn't fair for his daughter and asked if I could include her in my family's celebration. He pointed out how the girls will have a great time together, bonding and making memories, but I said I was sorry, but my family's traditional celebration is a sacred thing and I do not feel comfortable including anyone else. Plus, it'd be awkward having her in my home. Am I the asshole for not allowing my daughter's half-sister to spend Christmas with us? He said that his daughter may not be family to me, but she sure is to her half-sister. He asked me to stop and think about what's best for the kids here. I suggested he take his daughter to spend Christmas with her grandparents. He said his parents and him are NC and tried to cut the conversation short, but he stopped me and started going on about how cruel it was for me to decline to include his daughter, who's already having a hard time adjusting. I saw that he was beginning to cry, so I stepped back and said I was no longer feeling comfortable having this conversation. I asked him to leave and he did, but still texted me asking me to agree to let his daughter come spend Christmas, even offered that he stays away if that'll make me less uncomfortable. I said no, and now he's calling me selfish and unfeeling. A point worth mentioning here, and that is my family are going to attend and they said that they too will not feel comfortable in this situation. Thus I said it'd be awkward.
Am I the asshole for blowing up on my husband over a prank? She's a female 25, husband, a male 27, is into prank. My husband went too far with his pranks a few times, like when he pretended that he forgot the keys to our house after our wedding, or when he took me to another restaurant for our engagement party, but I was surprised when no one came. And you still went on with the wedding. Why? We just had our first baby a month ago. Last week, he stopped helping with the baby suddenly and was looking upset and just avoided me for 2 days. I tried to talk to him, but he refused to say what was wrong until I snapped. He told me his mom said that our baby doesn't really look like him and suggested that he secretly do a DNA test. He said he did it without making me notice and got the results 2 days ago. And it turned out our son isn't his and that he'll be moving out of the house and will contact an attorney in the morning.
And it was a fucking prank, wasn't it?
Not long after I slept with the guy in the elevator,
I had a one-night stand with another guy. Only this time, it was someone that my fiance and I both knew. This time, I came clean to my partner and told him that I'd slept with the guy we both knew. I broke down and told him that I still wanted to spend our lives together. My fiance told me that he didn't want to know any details. He told me that he appreciated my honesty and would work to forgive me. Here's the problem. My fiance said that this was it. This was the only time he is going to forgive me for something like this. And if anything else happens, we would be done. But I hadn't yet told him about the guy in the elevator. So I never told him about the guy in the elevator. I think he would understand me sleeping with the guy we both know because he could see the chemistry between us. And this guy kind of slept with everyone. He could understand how I got into that situation. But the guy in the elevator, that didn't have to happen. We randomly met and had a short conversation. I feel like my fiance would be so much more hurt by that. And he might see it as pointing to a larger problem in our relationship, meaning we'd need to break up. I feel really guilty about what happened. But I've already told my fiance that I cheated on him, and he said he didn't want any details. Does it matter that I'm not telling him about the guy in the elevator?
Our daughter has always been a little socially awkward, to the point that we've had her tested since we suspected her of being on the spectrum. Turns out she isn't on the spectrum, she's just a natural introvert. However, this year in school we were thrilled when our daughter made a new friend her age, since that is an area in which she struggles. She recently invited her new friend over to have dinner at our house and then spend the night. During the course of the meal, I asked my daughter's friend, "Are you enjoying the food?" She responded, "Yes, your husband is a great cook. No wonder you've ended up a bigger woman." My daughter's friend seemed to realize that she'd messed up, but she didn't say anything else. This was a couple of months ago. Recently, my daughter asked if she could have her friend back over, and I told her, sure, if she's going to apologize to me. When our daughter asked what I meant, I reminded her of what she said. My daughter responded that it was over and she didn't want to bring it up again. I just want an apology from the girl. I need to see that she understands how rude she was before I can get on board with her and my daughter hanging out. Am I the asshole for not attending my husband's celebration dinner due to the restaurant not having anything I could eat? My husband has been working really hard the last 2 years to advance at his company, and he finally got the promotion he's been after. I'm really proud of him. His parents are too, and wanted to take us all out to dinner to celebrate. My husband absolutely loves prime rib, and there's only one place in our area that serves it, so he picked that restaurant. Thing is, I'm not fond of steak. I'll eat it, but very rarely. I prefer chicken or fish. I looked up the menu before leaving. The place had only 1 fish entree and 2 chicken entrees, and none of them sounded good for various reasons. I suggested that he pick someplace else so everyone can eat. He suggested that I ask if they could prepare the fish or chicken without the marinade sauces, but I didn't want to be difficult for the kitchen staff. So I opted to just not go, because I didn't want to sit there not eating and not having a good time while everyone else was. My wife and I have a 6-month-old baby girl. On the weekends, we share baby duty. We usually make sure each of us gets our own alone time to do whatever we want. However, our girl has hit a bit of a sleep regression, waking up every 2 hours since my wife breastfeeds. She's always taking care of the baby full-time overnight. She's a light sleeper and unfortunately has insomnia, whereas I'm a deep sleeper and wouldn't wake up for babies crying anyways. Recently, my wife has been asking me to wake up with the baby both days on the weekends so she can get an extra hour of sleep. I get the baby dressed and take over for the hour, but sometimes I want to be the one that gets to sleep in an extra hour. I brought this up to her, and she said while she's happy to let me nap during the day, she really needs the hour because she can't nap like I can. But I'm exhausted too. Work wears me out and school days are long, and I sometimes want the hour in the morning. I don't want to spend my off time napping. I want to play video games and chill out. My wife and my best friend Kian do not see eye to eye. Kian is a very kind person. I think wife hated everything about Kian. She thought he was too goofy and hated how he teased her. My wife takes things seriously. A few months ago, I had a 4-month project across the world. I needed the promotion. My wife ended up needing surgery, and she, unlike me, didn't make close friends here. She couldn't do normal things post-surgery and wanted me to come back. I complained to Kian and suggested that he pop over to help her. When I came back, it was like my wife flipped her switch. Things that were immature became playful. Kian still hung out, but it was like he couldn't snap out of the caretaker mode. The two of them are practically joined at the hip. When I went to work, my wife packs Kian a lunch too, and his is a lot better than mine. I pulled him aside and told him I knew my wife was clingy and it was okay if he kept boundaries.